All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining our rescheduled JOC Huddle, back to basics. Um, there's actually a few folks here. Cynthia, what number JOC Huddle are we on?
34.
34 JOC Huddle. So I stopped putting them on the front slide because people had FOMO that they had missed out on the previous 33. It's just kind of a private thing that we're on JOC Huddle 34. So again, welcome. Again, welcome to JOC Huddle back to basics again. Thanks for coming back. We postponed to this Friday, and I appreciate everybody that's here. So without further ado, let's take a look at today's agenda. We're going to go over a recap of the contractor JOC Huddle. Cynthia and Gordian are going to tell us all about the contractor JOC Huddles. Very cool thing that they set up. They're going to go over a recap of the 2025 numbers, the volume goal. I think almost all of you have seen the email about kind of trying to finish off those JOC projects so we can get back to that 2.33% that we're currently sitting at. And then we'll go into back to basics, talking about a bunch of great stuff. And then last but not least, we will have Q&A. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Cynthia to kind of start the recap of the JOC Huddle, contractor JOC Huddle.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Yep,
So,
of course.
this year, as a new initiative that we've started in collaboration with the Chancellor's Office, we started doing jock huddles, but for contractors. So, just like you guys have this roundtable virtual session where we pick a topic on all things jock and we talk about it for about 30 to 45 minutes, we are starting to do the same thing for all of the contractors that go through jock. The big caveat being that if it's not only open to our current existing jock contractors, but it's also open to new upcoming jock contractors. So that was really cool. We just had our first session last week. I want to say 2 weeks ago, maybe
Yep.
at this point. And it was fantastic. We had 122 contractors that were registered. Of those, there were 97 that were unique companies that were registered. There were 63 that attended, as far as contractors that are doing JOC already, and 46 that were new, basically prospective contractors. The idea behind this initiative is not only to have a forum for contractors to talk about things that they're seeing or experiencing or their own hurdles that they're going through JOC, but also to have create a nurture stream where any new contractors who may want to come out to bid that maybe don't have familiarity with the process can come and learn about JOC with zero pressure, right? And this is before the solicitation, this is before any advertisements, anything like that. As a part of this initiative, we're also hosting informational sessions before you go out to bid. So now more than ever in this upcoming year, let's be proactive. And the request is to the campuses, let us know as soon as you want to go out to bid so that way not only can we plan out our typical pre-bid timeline, but we can also allow for a window to host a couple of informational sessions so that you can get new contractors coming into the mix. So a couple of things that we discussed in this first one, this first job contractor huddle, we went over all things CSU, an overview on the program, and then we also did a job order contracting overview. And then we also listed out a couple of potential bid opportunities that we noticed were coming up on the horizon. We've already have the next one scheduled out, and we are already seeing a great turnaround for attendees on that one. And on that one, we will be talking about building adjustment factors, the importance of it, how to do it, and then we'll also again go through any upcoming bid opportunities. So if you know of a contractor who either is struggling or somebody that you know wants to come and enter into the JOC world, but doesn't have the familiarity or the bandwidth to like crank it all out during a pre-bid cycle, during a rebid cycle, this would be the time to start onboarding them and having them go through these learning sessions. Because again, it's basically zero risk to them. And yes, you guys can attend. This is open. It's an open forum. The idea is just to create an environment for the contractors to be able to come and speak. If there's a campus who maybe wants to showcase down the road, we can definitely do that as well. So, do you want to scroll through a couple more? Because I
Sure.
can just like
Yeah,
pop.
they pop up. Yep.
Yeah. So, A quick look at 2025, guys. This was something that we do on an annual basis, if you'll recall. This is the one that we're looking at for system-wide. We do specific ones for your campus. So your account managers will be reaching out to you over the next couple weeks to see when we can schedule something like this for your campus. But this is a look at where we're at system-wide, and this is specifically looking at the last 3 years. We've done a total volume spend construction-wise of $245 million. That's for a total of 3,324 jobs. That is huge, guys. That is huge. You guys are cranking out work. Considering the fact that the average job order amount is $115,000 per job order, that is an insane amount of work that you guys are going through. Smaller jobs, but a lot of them. And as we know, a JOC project is a project nonetheless, and it still takes all the steps and all the work behind it. So kudos to you guys for getting so much done. We're also noticing a trend here of 5.45% savings in proposal review over the last 3 years. That is a huge, huge, huge kudos to the Cal State team who has been reviewing proposals. That means that over the last 3 years, you guys have saved $14 million in just reviewing proposals alone system-wide. That's crazy. That's so much more work that was able to get done just by the fact that proposal reviews are happening. So that in and of itself is a testament to the hard work you guys are doing as a whole. That's fantastic. At the very bottom there, you'll also see who our top 5 contractors are. And this is just based on the volume that they've done system-wide. Okay, this doesn't say like these are the best, these are the worst, nothing like that. This is just the volume of work that they've done. The top one being Expon, who's done 301 jobs.
Okay, so hold that for 1 second there. So if anybody's currently using Expon or plans to use Expon, can you please reach out to me? You can call me, you can email me, you can send me a text. But if you're planning to use Expon or you're currently using Expon, please contact me as soon as possible. Okay, keep going. Thanks, Cynthia.
Yeah, no problem.
Enough said. Yep.
Enough said. The other top contenders there are AllSource, KLD, MIK, and Pacific Group. A gentle reminder, this is the moment. Please make sure that you guys are filling out your contractor evaluations.
Yes.
Whether you like working with these contractors or you're looking at this and you say, why are they listed on here? Or that actually perfectly aligns. These are a fantastic contractor. Make sure that you're using your contractor evaluation forms to note that. Again, think of it as your Yelp review. And last but certainly not least that I want to point out here is your average days to procure. You guys are at you're averaging out at about 68 days. That means from the moment that you think of the project and enter it into the system to the moment that it NTPs. It takes about an average of 68 days. Now, I want to point this out because when we reviewed this KPI last year, you guys were at 72 days. So you guys are cranking out work quicker, is all of that to say. I know we're having a lot of conversations with campuses right now as far as what their process is like, taking that look at what is working well for them versus areas for improvement. When I'm doing the reviews with you guys and doing your annual reviews, that'll be a discussion point that we talk about so that if there is anything that you feel like could improve, we can definitely address it and talk through what other campuses are doing that works well for them. Okay. Now, a trends in campus usage. This is based on volume as well as the number of POs issued by campus. Interestingly enough, the campus who has done the most volume worth of work is not the regional programs, but it's actually San Diego State. San Diego State did $17 million worth of work in 2025 alone. Huge kudos to that campus. Followed by CSU Fullerton, who did $12 million worth of work in construction volume. Interestingly enough, the campus with the number of the highest POs issued, though, was Fullerton, followed by the Chancellor's Office through the regional projects. So all of that to say, even if you're performing at a high volume of projects, that doesn't always mean that you're doing the same equivalents in PO numbers. But can give you a breakdown of where your campuses align with that. The big thing to notice in this trend is that we're noticing a lot of jobs, but at a smaller dollar value, which we knew was happening. Budget cuts were being impacted, or as well as personnel. We've heard a lot of the trends going on. So this perfectly aligns with that. Again, San Diego State being the anomaly, but the big thing that we're noticing across the campuses is a lot of work is being done, but at a smaller dollar value. Cool. Now, Jeremy kind of mentioned this earlier, but right now we and I'm sure you guys have seen the emails coming out, but we are coming up to our window of our contract renewal, Gordian with the Chancellor's Office. Our current contract has basically a discount table rate. So if you guys are within a certain threshold, yep, but Jeremy just listed on there, if you guys hit an $80 million mark, you guys will keep your 2.33%. Now, I will say this number is from when I met with the chancellor's office maybe a week and a half ago. Since then, that number has gone down. So we basically right now have a gap to meet our end of the year quota at $1.6 million in volume. So that just means that if you guys have projects right now that you guys need to get done or you want to push through, I am not sure whether we will meet or not meet the quota to be able to keep the 2.33%. I do think it's possible still, but we have until basically February 13th to push through any jobs to get through over that threshold. So that's $1.6 million. So if you guys have a couple of big projects, push them now. That's all to say.
Cool. Thank you for that, Cynthia.
Sure. Now, one of the big things that we announced over at when we did this review with the Chancellor's Office is that we were going to be doing Gordian in partnership with the Chancellor's Office is going to be doing a program spotlight campaign. This is through our marketing department. So you may get tapped into this conversation at some point. Some of you may have already been tapped to ask for projects. And if you have a project, whether you've been requested of it or not, but you have a project that you want to make sure gets featured or has a focal point, please let me know. Please let me know. I'm not sure of all of the single projects that you guys do on campus, but I want to make sure that we share a fair spotlight on them. The idea and the purpose behind this is to really showcase the work that we've done with you guys at CSU. We've been working with you guys for over 25 years now. And I think it's important to showcase that the amount of work that's been done, the amount of effort that's been put into the program, how extensive it is. Your guys' program is extremely robust. Even things like this, like we're doing right now, the JOC Huddle, it's unique to you guys at Cal State. And so we want to showcase that across the JOC world. So this will be a marketing campaign that gets featured on our website, across social media, on LinkedIn. We also have the ability to publish it out with other websites. So it's going to be big. So this is the time to really shine. If you guys want your campuses to be featured, absolutely. Please feel free to reach out to myself or to your account manager. We already have reached out to just one or two campuses maybe, but there are more coming. So again, start thinking of those projects, those ones that you said, like, this was really cool, regardless of the dollar size. It was just a cool project because it impacted student life. It impacted the resilience of the building. It was just a really great project because we were able to get it done so quickly. Whatever it was that stood out to you, let's showcase that. Absolutely. So please feel free to reach out and let us know. Okay. Now,
back to the basics, Cynthia.
Now let's hop into the basics. Yeah.
Basics.
So this is just a quick review as a reminder. It's the beginning of the year. I don't know about you guys, but I'm still coming out of my December haze, even though we're in February already. I feel like I blinked and January was over. So this is just a quick refresher review as to all of the things that are required within a job order. So the first thing being documentation, right? Regardless of the fact that it's a JOC project, it is still a project. So there are some things that are required. The first one is a suggestion and a recommendation more than anything, but I have seen the value behind it. So I'm just going to say best practices is to make sure that you're downloading your job order checklist. That's just going to make sure that you have all of the documents that you need in order to submit this and keep a good log of the project. So downloading that. The second being the RFP. I have noticed a trend where campuses are maybe sending out an email or giving out a phone call, or maybe you're discussing it at the joint scope meeting to say, hey, I need a proposal back from you, but there's no actual RFP being issued. The RFP is a legally binding document, so please make sure that you're issuing that out. This is how we're able to hold our contractors accountable to say, you have up to 14 days to submit your proposal. But when did that clock start? This is the document that will tell you when that clock started. So make sure that you're issuing that out. Detailed scope of work is crucial. It is your recipe for success. And not only having that, but making sure that you've signed off on it, but also your contractor signed off on it is instrumental, because it eliminates the confusion between your conversations with the contractor as to what should be included in the proposal. Okay. And the next, obviously, being a price proposal. We can't issue out a job order without a price proposal. Please make sure that you have that in your back pocket rather than, and quotes from the contractor. Anything that comes on the contractor's letterhead can just be treated as a quote. It is not the actual proposal. The proposal still has to come from the system via the CTC, because that's how they were awarded their contract. Okay. Subcontractor listing. That's one of those things I would suggest. My best recommendation would be to request your subcontractor listing information at the same time that you're requesting the proposal. Have them submit over that list. And not only that, but their construction schedule, just a preliminary construction schedule, really does help on the back end to chase down information. So along with that subcontractor listing information is also their DVBE information, right? I always recommend, if you're requesting sub information, make sure that you're also requesting that DVBE information at the same time. This helps procurement from chasing down info. So make sure that you're requesting that. So once you have all of those documents, you'll route out your job order authorization, right? Making sure that you have proper sign off on that. And once you have that back, your notice to proceed. Please make sure you're issuing out a notice to proceed with every single job, even if it's a supplemental. Issue one out. Make sure that you have one associated to the job. So that's all I'll say about that one.
Cynthia, I just want to piggyback onto that. The detailed scope of work. That's when I've been doing, I don't know if you guys know, but I've been doing JOC for almost 7 years here. But previous to that, I'd probably been doing it for about another 5 years. But with the detailed scope of work, in that, I always request a schedule from the contractor, and I will not accept, when they send that proposal, I will not accept it unless there's some sort of schedule. What could the schedule be? I mean, you could get as fancy as Microsoft Project if you like, or you could just send me an email saying the list of dates and their idea of how long this is going to take, including closeout, right? Because some of our JOC projects have closeout, right? They have submittals, they have L&M manuals, or they have warranties, and you really want to keep tight reins on that, because these projects are fast, and once everybody's gone, are you going to get all the closeout materials that you want and be able to release that retention? So just a friendly reminder to do that. Oops, let me get this back for you guys.
And while you're doing that, Jeremy, that just reminded me, one more thing to talk about through your scope of work is permitting requirements.
Yes, please.
Please make sure you're talking through those permitting requirements and addressing those needs before proceeding further than you should.
For sure. Give me one more second, guys. Just a little. Oop. There we go.
Any questions in the chat while he's pulling that up? Let me look. Okay, great.
Cool. All right, we're back into milestone tracking, Cynthia.
Yay. Okay, great. So the system allows you to track milestones, right? These are important not just for tracking the project, because obviously you need to keep track of your projects, but we also use those KPIs system-wide. The data that you saw me just kind of go through right now at the beginning of this presentation is directly derived from your milestone tracking. We also go in depth as to say, how long on average does it take you guys from inception of the project to when the detailed scope of work is created? From the detailed scope of work to when the proposal's received, from when the proposal's received to when the PO is issued. And we can really identify the gaps in processes that way. We can run a lot of really cool KPIs, but that's only possible if the milestones are filled out. Not only that, but these also pull into your documents. So the forms that you're downloading. A lot of the times, if I get the question of, hey, why isn't this date populating onto the report? The first thing I'm going to do is look in the milestones and see if you're tracking that information. So please make sure that you're using those fields. There's a plan section, and then there's an actual section. I think with the exception of construction start and end, which is
It's on the construction
below
tab, right? Yeah.
NTP, yes,
Yeah.
below the NTP.
Yep.
But that one you should probably be using the plan dates and that'll pull into your RFP. But everything else you can just use actuals if you don't want to do a planned. I will say keeping a track for yourself, even of using the plan versus when the date actually happens, also is a good gauge for you to reference back to when you're doing your contractor evaluations. Because then you can say, was the contractor actually adhering to my requirements, or did I not realize it and we fell behind schedule already? So it's a really great way of not only managing your projects, but managing the program as a whole. So please make sure that you're filling those out. Now, we talked a little bit about DVBE, but just as a refresher for the campuses, these two next slides will go over what the requirements are of the campus versus what the requirements are of the contractor. So for the campuses on a job order basis, just make sure that you're doing a quality check to make sure that the contractor is filling out all of the appropriate forms, okay? On an annual basis, procurement will be making sure that they're compiling the forms STD 810Ps as well as STD 810D, and reporting that out. Now, on the contractor side, they're the ones who are required to submit a couple of extra forms in the next slide, Jeremy, if you want to hop over there. Yeah. So they're the ones who really do have the homework they need to do.
Yep.
On a job by job basis, they are required if they are doing DVBE. Now, as a reminder, DVBE is on a contractual level. The requirement is to make sure that you meet the percentage contractually. Some campuses like to have it as a general rule of thumb that you know you have to meet this on a job by job basis, but technically, per the general conditions, it's on a contractual level. They're required to do that minimum 3%. However, if at the time of bid they got an incentive, then they probably need to do 4 or 5 or 6%, depending on what they said.
Correct.
So,
and a lot of our job contractors actually do go for the incentive, and a lot of them, that's why they won, is because of the incentive. So if they didn't do the incentive, they're in big trouble, right? Because if they won the contract because of the incentive, another contractor comes in and does a public records request and says, well, did Roscoe Construction, did they do their DVBE? Did they make it? And they didn't. Well, then we're in trouble, right? Because
yep.
they had not made their DVBE percentage. That said, there is an exemption form, a DVB exemption form, which should be filled out during the project, not after the project. So a couple of campuses have been like, well, we didn't make it. Can we do the form? Well, you can, but you were supposed to do it in the first place. And there's kind of good justifications. I'd rather not use that. I'd rather kind of hold the contractor's feet to the fire. I know that the chancellor's office and campuses do have a lot of requirements that we need to meet as far as DVBE goes on our campuses and here at the chancellor's office. So hold your contractor's feet to the fire. If they said they're going to do it, make them do it.
Yep. I agree. So a couple of forms that you should be spot checking for within their package is going to be the transmittal form, the summary of DVBE participation, the bidder certification of DVBE status, as well as the DVBE declarations form, that STD 843. Okay. And on an annual basis, they also have to submit that they basically met that requirement.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Cool. All right, my turn. How many campuses, show of hands, even if your camera's off, are collecting prevailing wage on your on just not just job projects, but any project? Who's checking their prevailing wage? Big hands. Oh, good. Sabrina's good. Anybody else?
Do the
Just
check.
me. Up. Todd's up. Me, Todd, and
Susan.
Sabrina are the only ones that are. Oh, Susan, thank you. That's awesome. So payment of prevailing wage rates is required on all public works. So there are penalties for failing to pay that prevailing wage rates, as addressed in section 1775 of the Labor Code. So, if your contractor doesn't do it, then they're going to come after us. They're going to come after you or your campus. Well, probably not you, your campus, for not paying that prevailing wage. So You want to make sure that your contractor and your subcontractors are keeping accurate payroll records, right? And what does that mean? That means that they should have somewhere, and you should be reviewing some form of that. So each contractor and subcontractor shall certify the each payroll by a declaration under penalty of perjury. So with their certified payroll, there should be where the general says, "Hey, I reviewed this, and everything looks good to me." So next one, 98-2401. So we shall request a minimum of the first week's certified payroll records from the general contractor and a minimum of the certified payroll records from each subcontractor of any tier. So with that, they're supposed to give you an hourly labor rate worksheet. How many of you guys have actually seen that? Have you guys actually seen the labor rate worksheet? Yes, Todd, good. Sabrina's shaking her head. No, Carlos is looking at me like I'm crazy. I'm just kidding. You guys have seen them before. But you want to make sure that that labor rate worksheet matches up with what they're submitting, right? So rule of thumb, that worksheet and the DIR rate, that is the absolute minimum. Contractors can pay more, but they can't pay below that, right? Again, this is one of the things that we've been caught with a lot. If there's a public records request from a contractor, I'm not going to name the campus, but we had contractors working on a campus, and I guess one of the bidders got sour about it and did a public records request of certified payroll and came back and said, "Hey, you're not paying these laborers the correct the correct rate," and they were right. Then they told the union. So then not only was the campus in trouble with DIR, with the contractor, but they were in trouble with the union as well. So please keep an eye on it. It's a super easy thing to do. Contractors swear that they don't know what you're talking about, but they do. They completely do. They should be paying, and they've all been through the training, and they should all be paying the proper prevailing wage. If you got any more questions on this, let me know. We are going to do an independent training sometime in my free time. We'll do a training about how to do the certified payroll. I'm not an expert. I know what's wrong and what's right, but that's about it. But we don't have a program that tracks this. So it's our boots on the grounds. It's you guys checking that certified payroll on your own. So again, if you've got any questions about that, let me know. And now we made it to our Q&A section. So this is your turn, campuses or Gordian, to ask questions. What's happening on your JOC projects? Any questions?
Yeah, I've got one.
Sure.
That came up recently.
Yep.
And it is that a contractor listed a subcontractor that had a very high percentage of DVBE. And everything looked great. We approved the job order, issued a notice to proceed. They ordered some long lead items. And then we were notified that that subcontractor was sold to another contractor and that their new contractor would not be honoring that same percentage of DVBE. And so the question came up, when does the DVBE percentage count for their tracking system? To me, they have to follow all the way through with the contract and then report that at the end, right, on their overall tracking.
Right.
But we don't know how to exactly handle that because we didn't issue a waiver. So do we go back in time now, issue a waiver that they're not going to receive that 25 or so percent on their DVBE?
25%?
I'm sorry, that was SBE.
Oh my gosh. It's like, that's a lot of DVBE. Yeah.
Yeah. Or do we just let it ride and just not account for it at the end? We just weren't sure how to handle that. I'm surprised it hasn't come up before, but that's my question.
Actually, there was a similar one at if anybody's on, I don't think I have anybody from Maritime, but there's a similar issue at Maritime where I think it wasn't DVBE, but it was their small business wasn't a small business anymore. They were a non-small, so they were using a small, but that small wasn't a small anymore. And the question came up, like, what does that do? Like, is it extenuating circumstances? and I think we try to handle it on a case by case basis. But first I would go to Gordian, and I would ask Gordian to check the general's DVBE current rate and how close they are to meeting that. So if it was 3%, 4%, 5%, whatever it is, what are they at? So talk to your Gordian rep, which I think is John Futch or
Right.
Todd, right? So I'd go to John Futch and ask him to look up their DVB usage to date and see how close they are.
Okay.
I think that'd be a good place to start. And then if it's extremely low and they're not meeting it, why don't you and John set up a call with me and Cynthia, and we can talk through it and figure out how to get through this, not get around it, but get through it. Right.
Yeah, they will meet. They're on track to meet it overall.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a concern. It was just this individual job order. Because typically, if they're not going to meet it on a job order, we have them issue that DVB waiver form.
Okay. But before it happens, until after, not until after. But but can you shoot that my way? I'd like to take a look at it. Cool.
Okay.
Thanks. Excellent. Great question, Todd. Sabrina.
So I have a question that's come up with a particular contractor where if we say have 10,000 square feet of carpet to put in, that they want to take the first, say, 100 square feet and charge us that price that would be higher, right, for the first 100 square feet, as if we were only doing 100 square feet, and then only charge us the lower price on the remaining 9,500 square feet or whatever it is, or 9,900 square feet. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Instead of just being like, here's 10,000 square feet. To me, my understanding, I guess, was that all of the 10,000 square feet gets charged at the rate for the 10,000 square feet, where that would fall in. But they're insisting that they were told by Gordian that no, the first amount, we can charge that first amount. And then for the next tier, we have to charge this amount. And then the next tier, we have to charge this amount.
No, that's not correct. And I don't think Gordian would give that recommendation, but it's on the number as a whole. You don't get to collect one up to 100.
Two different rates or something. Yeah.
No. Number as a whole. The purpose of the first rate is just if you have if it's only up to 100, let's say living feet, right? If you have beyond that, then you have to go with the number beyond that. You don't get to just check off all the boxes.
Yeah, that was my understanding, but they were insistent.
Points for creativity, though.
The only caveat I would say, sorry, Zeb.
No, go ahead.
And it's when I was at LA County Public Libraries, we did face this, but it was two different types of carpet, right? There was like decorative carpet, and then it was like they wanted this crazy thing at LA County Libraries where they wanted it to be like this pinwheel, and like they just needed some squares to make it look circular. So they did do that, and I was okay with it because it was a different, like it was a specialty type of carpet versus the overall type of carpet that they wanted to use. But if it's all the same carpet, you can't play it that way, Zeb.
No, that's a great point, Jeremy. But I was going to say, similarly, I think it was San Jose State where PM told me something similar on a quantity somewhere that that the contractor said that, and they were saying a Gordian person. So I'll just want to advise to always check with your Gordian rep too.
Yeah.
Don't just go by what they say, because the contractors will say certain things sometimes that fall in their favor when convenient. So always check with the Gordian rep, because I heard the exact same line, that the PM said, "Oh, the contractor said, the Gordian said I can do it this way and break it up that way in the quantities and use the modifiers to kind of work in their favor, when actually we make it a point to kind of make those things clear and how they apply." So always check with your Gordian rep.
We call it creative accounting. But no. Yeah, always double check with the Gordian rep.
Mhm.
Sure. Great question.
That was another great question.
Yeah, it was a good one.
All right. Any more questions for today? Well, yeah. No, nothing. Thank you both to CSUN and to Sacramento State for those great questions. Upcoming training opportunities today at 11 a.m. That is your next CMAG connection session. Should be a lively one. Looking for project spotlights. They could be JOC projects. They could be any kind of projects you want, but we're actually seeking campus project spotlights for our CMAG connection session. Not today. You can submit that later, but please do join us today at 11 a.m. We got the Construction Services Department 101 coming up on March 19th at 9 a.m. Your next JOC huddle, we're going to start doing these quarterly, so there'll be 4 a year. Our next one will be on Friday, May 1st at 9 a.m. No topics quite yet, but if you have a topic that you'd like to discuss, or maybe even a project highlight then about your JOC project, let Cynthia and myself know, and we would love to feature your project or answer your questions. Or maybe even it's a topic that you had heard before and you'd like to hear again. We definitely will deliver. And big news, Law of Design and Construction is back. So save the dates. We're going to have it here at the Office of the Chancellor on April 26th, or April 22nd and 23rd, and San Jose State University. We're hitting the road on May 7th and 8th to head up to the Bay Area to do our Law of Design and Construction. So please join us in person on either one of those dates. We would love to see you. So thank you, everybody, for joining. Have a great weekend. I'll see you guys around.